UFC Fight Night, Teixeira versus Lewis, full card breakdown. UFC Nashville, we're back with another fight night, boys. It's been a couple weeks since we've had the UFC card. We had UFC 317. We got a couple week layoff, and now we're back with UFC Nashville. I'm going to be giving you guys my full card breakdown, all my final picks for this card. Before we go ahead and get into it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's start it off with the early prelim opener of Fatima Klein versus Melissa Martinez. Opens up this fight night. Not a bad first fight to open it up. Both women are doing fairly well in MMA. 7-1 for Fatima Klein, 8-1 for Melissa Martinez. But I do believe that there is a skill gap. There is clearly an odds gap in this one. But completely avoid the odds. Fatima Klein, very, very well-versed striker. Very well-versed striker. Very good on the ground. Her grappling is very underrated. Melissa Martinez has great grappling herself. Not the best striking. She is a bit weak in the striking department. Doesn't have much power behind her shots. Doesn't have much pop in her shots. Fatima Klein, I do believe, will be the better strikers. I think she'll be the more powerful, dynamic striker. I think she'll come forward, try to press Melissa Martinez. As long as Fatima Klein doesn't get mixed up in a scramble, doesn't get her neck taken by Melissa Martinez, I think she will be good in this spot. I think she is a good pick here. I don't think she's a safe bet. She is I believe she's a minus 1,600 now. Insane odds on this fight for Fatima Klein. She's a huge, huge favorite, but I am going to pick her in this fight. I think Melissa Martinez is good, and she is underrated for sure, but I do think she is just a weaker woman of the two. I think she can't, impose her size because she's 5'2", she's smaller. Her reach isn't as good, and she's not very dangerous on the feet. It's only on the ground where Fatima Klein will have to worry, but I do think she could also be the better grappler. We'll have to see if this does get to the ground. It will get to the ground at some point for sure. I do believe that Melissa Martinez's game plan should be to wrestle, but Fatima Klein is just going to want to stay on the feet, pop her with shots, nice clean jabs, which she does have some nice clean 1-2. She's coming off that KO win over, I believe, Victoria Dudikova. Melissa Martinez, I think she's coming off that loss. I forget who it was to, but close fight. She has one loss on her record. Both women have one loss, but I do believe that Fatima Klein will win this fight, go to 8-1, and Melissa Martinez will go to 8-2. So as my final pick, I'm going with Fatima Klein. I think she is the better fighter here. Just MMA skills, I think she's just better overall, and that's who you got to pick, man, when you're picking MMA. I'm going Fatima Klein as the final pick. We're moving on. Mitch Ramirez versus Mike Davis. Tough one because Mike Davis has had some injuries. He's been very injury prone. He's a good fighter. At one point, he had a good solid streak. He just lost to Fares Siam, who should be fighting in Paris in a couple months. Mike Davis had a close fight with him, but he was pulling guard. He seemed injured. He seemed kind of weak in there. And it's a bit worrisome going into this fight with Mitch Ramirez, who is dangerous. I think Ramirez is dangerous everywhere. He's got good striking. He's a KO artist. And Mike Davis is going to have to be careful. For sure, he's going to have to be careful when he's going into striking exchanges with Mitch Ramirez. But I do think that Davis's IQ will be the factor here. It'll be the benefactor here. The amount of fights he's had in the UFC. Mitch Ramirez is just not as experienced as Mike Davis. I think Mike Davis will have the experience. He'll have the IQ to just take this fight to the ground and look for a submission, look for ground and pound over Mitch Ramirez, which he's been training. I've been watching some footage of Mike Davis. He's been training that ground and pound. He's been training his grappling on the ground. I think that's his best shot in this fight to beat Mitch Ramirez, who is obviously not as experienced, but he is still dangerous on the feet. And I do think Mike Davis will take Mitch Ramirez down. Ramirez doesn't have the best takedown defense, and I do think Mike Davis will take him down and potentially find a sub in round 1, round 2. He might look for a choke, or he will just beat him up on the ground for 3 rounds. I don't think he KOs Mitch Ramirez, so I'm going to go Mike Davis by sub or by decision, man. I think he gets it done. He's also a very, very big favorite. I wouldn't bet on him, but I do think that he will get this done somehow, either by sub or by decision. He is the better fighter. I just hope he doesn't have any injuries coming in. We move on to the next fight. Kennedy and I'm not even going to try, man. I know I can get this last name, but I'm not even going to try. And forget about it, man. Kennedy versus Walter Walker. I like Walter Walker. I'm going to be honest. I like Walter Walker, and it is a bit of a biased pick because I mess with Walter Walker. I do. And the heel hooks that he's had recently, it's cool. Back-to-back heel hooks. First to ever do it in the UFC. And they're good wins. They are good wins by Walter Walker. It does worry me in the striking with Kennedy because Kennedy is a good striker. He moved up from light heavyweight to heavyweight, and he's looked pretty good. Kennedy's coming off of back-to-back KO wins over Lucas Brzeski and Chris. It's a really fat guy, man. You know who I'm talking about. The big guy. Chris, the one with the wheel kick. You guys know who I'm talking about. But Kennedy versus Walter Walker, tough one to predict. Kennedy's going to be the better striker for sure. Walter has been training and striking. He's been training with Bogdan Guskov. He's been training with Sergey Pavlovich. He's been over there with Gore MMA. He's been training it up. So I do hope that Walter Walker does come in with some good striking and has been training that striking. But of course, he wants to take this to the ground. He wants to look for another heel hook. He likes being the guy that takes some legs and takes some feet. Kind of weird, but I do mess with it. I like Walter Walker. I'm going to pick Walter Walker here because I do think he's going to take down Kennedy. I do think he will take down Kennedy. That's a big factor in this fight is size, the takedowns, and if Walter Walker can get it to the ground, I do believe fully that he will get this fight to the ground. So give me Walter Walker by submission in round 1 or round 2. I think he gets Kennedy down. He finds that submission early on, honestly. I think he finds it early. Kennedy does have some weakness when he gets to the ground. His takedown defense is not the greatest, and he can be a bit gun-shy at moments. So give me Walter Walker by submission early, round 1, late, or early round 1, early round 2. I think he'll get it done pretty early on, man. Give me Walter Walker. We move on. Lauren Murphy versus Eduardo Mora. Pretty easy fight to predict. I don't see a path of victory for Lauren Murphy, honestly. 42 years old, just out of her prime. She shouldn't be fighting an up-and-coming Eduardo Mora, who's very young, very hungry, dangerous as well, coming off that win over Veronica Hardy, I believe. She got a dominant decision, and I think she'll do the same over Lauren Murphy. Lauren Murphy's very tough, very, very tough, but Eduardo Mora is just very well-rounded on the ground. She's really big for flyweight, very, very big for flyweight. When she weighs in, I don't know how she makes the weight. She's very big for flyweight. She doesn't look this big here, but in person, when you see them matched up against each other, Eduardo Mora is going to be the much bigger fighter, much more physically strong fighter. I think she's going to take Lauren Murphy down. She'll threaten some subs. She might sub Lauren Murphy, but I do think she'll get it and grind out a decision on the ground, just beating her up and searching for submissions the entire time. Give me Eduardo Mora by decision or by submission. I just don't see a path of victory for Lauren Murphy. Unfortunately, she's just a bit too old, and she's just way out of her prime, man. So give me, as a final pick, Eduardo Mora by decision or by submission. We move on. Jake Matthews versus Chidi Njokuani. This one I've been back and forth with. Very, very tough to predict because Chidi's kind of made a resurgence at welterweight. He moved up to 185, lost a few fights, went back to 170, and now he's on a 3-fight winning streak with his best win against Zaleski dos Santos in his last one. KO'd him with that nice knee up the middle, dropped him, and finished him on the ground. Really nice finish by Chidi, but I do think he is getting older now. I initially picked Chidi Njokuani, and Jake Matthews is, he's a very 50-50 fighter in my eyes. Jake Matthews, he wins one, he loses one. He wins one, he loses one. And I do think that it's going to be a close fight for sure. I think it will hit the judges' scorecards, and I'm going to lean Jake Matthews in this one. I think if it is going to end in a finish as well, I think Jake Matthews does have the better finishing capabilities in this one. He's got good submissions. He can piece you up on the fence, and he can finish you by KO or by TKO. So I'm going to lean Jake Matthews as the slight underdog. Chidi, 36 years old. It's tough for him to make that 170 cut, and even though he looked good in his last one, I do think Jake Matthews can wear him down. He can outvolume him, and he is very tough. Jake Matthews is very tough, very difficult to finish. I don't see Chidi finding a sub over Jake Matthews, which is one of his bigger weaknesses, but I don't think Chidi's going to find that sub in this spot. So give me Jake Matthews. I'm going to say Jake Matthews by decision or by TKO, late round, third round TKO, late third round TKO. What am I saying? Give me Jake Matthews, man. We move on to the final prelim, Max Griffin versus Chris Curtis. This should be an easy fight for Chris Curtis. I don't even really have to break this one down. Max Griffin is way out of his prime. Obviously, Chris Curtis is getting up there in age as well, but Max Griffin is 39, I believe. Chris Curtis, 36, 37. These guys are older. This is a bit of an unk battle, all right? But we do like to see some of these unk battles. Max Griffin is coming off of back-to-back losses. He lost to Michael Chiesa recently, got subbed by Michael Chiesa. And I do think he's just a bit slow. He's a bit slow. His takedown defense is not great. He gets hit a lot. Max Griffin gets hit a lot. Chris Curtis has heavy hands. He can still get close to finishing you. He had a very tough fight with Roman Kopylov recently where he did get TKO'd at the end of the third, but honestly, that was not a finish. He was not unconscious. And I'm going to take Chris Curtis. I'm going to trust Chris Curtis to get this one done. I do think Chris Curtis is the better fighter. I think he's more powerful. I think he's stronger. I think his boxing is much cleaner. If there is a takedown by Max Griffin, I think Chris Curtis will stuff it with relative ease. And I think if there is a takedown in this fight, Chris Curtis will be the one getting the takedown. So give me Chris Curtis by KO or by decision. I'm going to lean decision here. I'm going to lean that this is like a boxing only fight and Chris Curtis just outboxes Max Griffin for 15 minutes. I can see that being a reality. So give me Chris Curtis by decision. We move on to the main card, opening up the main card. Crazy that Junior Tafa and Tuco Tokos are on the main card, but this is a fight night. And Junior Tafa has made a complete body transformation, man. This guy has cut a bunch of weight, moved down from heavyweight to light heavyweight. I think he's looking a lot better at light heavyweight, looks a lot cleaner. Seems like he's been eating healthy, treating his body well, getting in the work in the gym. So has Tuco Tokos, man. I mean, this guy's coming off back-to-back losses. He wants to get a win. Junior Tafa obviously coming off that loss to Walter Walker where it was a questionable submission. It was the heel hook, and it was a verbal tap. So it was questionable, but Junior Tafa did lose that fight. And this is an interesting fight because both these guys need a win here. You know, Junior Tafa is 6-3 in his MMA career, and Tuco Tokos is 10-5. Really not great records, but this could be a defining factor. The loser will definitely get cut, and I am going to lean with Junior Tafa. Initially, I was leaning Tuco Tokos with the wrestling, with the grappling advantage. I thought he could take down Junior Tafa, but Tafa looks a lot leaner. He looks like he's been training really hard, and I do believe that his striking is much better than Tuco Tokos. I do hope that his striking is much better than Tuco Tokos, and I believe that it is. I think this will be a matter of Tuco Tokos just wanting to get this to the ground and Junior Tafa wanting to keep this on the feet. And if Tafa does keep it on the feet, I think he might find a KO over Tuco Tokos, who is, you know, he's not chinny, but he is questionable at times. And I think Junior Tafa can find that chin and he can knock him out. So give me round 2, Junior Tafa TKO. I think Tuco Tokos might have a little bit of success early with some wrestling, but I think Junior Tafa will adjust and he'll find a finishing shot and just flatline Tuco Tokos, honestly. So give me Junior Tafa by KO, man, as the final pick. We move on. Vitor Petrino, Austin Lane, very low level, very low level heavyweight matchup here. Vitor Petrino is looking massive at heavyweight now. This dude is looking chunky. He's looking massive. Looks like he's just juiced up on some sort of steroids. We don't know if he is, but he's fighting Austin Lane. You know how it goes with Lane. Lane's chin is absolutely cooked. It's cooked to the ground. This should be an easy win for Vitor Petrino. If you don't know Austin Lane, this guy's been flatline TKO'd at least 3 or 4 times in the UFC, and they are flatline TKOs every single time. The only dude that he fraud checked was Rebellis Despain. Now, Vitor Petrino has been fraud checked back-to-back, and it's crazy to say he's been fraud checked back-to-back because he was supposed to beat both these people that he was matched up against. He was matched up against Anthony Smith, trying to break into the rankings, got guillotined. He put himself in a guillotine, got choked out by Anthony Smith at the tail end of Smith's career. Not a great look. And then he fights Jacoby Smith or one of the Jacobys, man. I keep forgetting this guy's name. And he gets KO'd brutally. He gets KO'd brutally on one of those fight nights. He was winning the entire fight, and then just a big check hook and destroys Vitor Petrino, gets knocked out, just like the Usman Masvidal KO. That's exactly what it was. Flatline TKO. So Vitor Petrino's on a bit of a decline. He needs this win desperately. Austin Lane, obviously, he's older in his career. I believe he's 37, 38 now. He's taken a bunch of damage. Very easy to KO. Vitor Petrino, I think, has just enough power to knock out Austin Lane. I think he will do it. He should do it. So give me Vitor Petrino by round 1 TKO. If he sells this one, I'm never picking him again. I think he's getting cut from the promotion, but Austin Lane is quite an easy target. So give me Vitor Petrino by KO as the final pick. We move on. Nate Landwehr, Morgan Sherrier. Difficult fight to predict. Honestly, I was leaning Morgan Sherrier initially, and I still am slightly leaning Morgan Sherrier, but Nate Landwehr, he's a 50-50. Nate the Train in the UFC, baby. He's a 50-50. You know how it is. Nate the Train either comes out guns blazing, he looks amazing, he looks like a world-class fighter, or he comes out and he just looks like a bum and he gets smothered and he gets KO'd, or he just gets destroyed for 15 minutes, right? So we don't know how Nate's going to look in this fight. So I do think Morgan Sherrier is the better striker. I think he's the more dynamic finisher, and I think he could find a finish over Nate Landwehr, but Nate is very tough. This could go to a split. This could go to a very close split. And I'm going to lean that this fight goes the distance, but I'm going to lean Morgan Sherrier. And I actually predict that this fight does go to a split decision because of the fact that Nate's very tough. I think he could steal a round from Morgan Sherrier. Maybe the second or third round he could steal from Morgan. But I do expect Morgan to have the better volume, to land the better shots, land the cleaner shots, bust up Nate's face a bit. And I'm going to go with Morgan Sherrier to get this one done by decision. I think he is just a better striker a little bit, and his speed is still good. Obviously, he had a close fight last time out, in London. He got dropped early on and never really recovered. I just don't see that being a factor here. I don't think Nate's going to drop him early and just take over. I think Morgan Sherrier is going to have this one from the get-go, and maybe Nate, evolves later on and gets a second or third round, and it goes to a split. So give me Morgan Sherrier by decision as the final pick. We move on. Calvin Kattar versus Steve Garcia. Calvin Kattar, obviously in the rankings still, but very barely, very, very, very slightly in the rankings. This guy has been on a 4-fight losing streak, taking a bunch of damage nonstop. Ever since the Max Holloway fight, he's never really looked the same. Just nonstop damage. He recently lost to Yusuf Zalal. Zalal was low-key running, but it is what it is. He still lost at the end of the day. But he's fighting Steve Garcia, a guy who's willing to stand there and bang it out with you. He's going to stand there. He's going to throw hands. He does not give a fuck. He's on a five-fight win streak by KO. Steve Garcia is on a 5-fight KO streak, and Calvin Kattar is still dangerous. He's still very, very dangerous, and it's a really tough pick for me because I do believe that Calvin Kattar is still tough. He can still find a shot, but it's just the damage for me, how much damage he's worn and how much he's taken over the years. And on that loss streak, it's brutal. It's brutal. It's a Tony Ferguson loss streak. I hope he can bounce back here, but give me Steve Garcia by KO in round 2. Honestly, I think Calvin Kattar and Steve Garcia are going to throw down. I think this could be a potential fight of the night as long as these guys do both decide to stand and bang. I think Calvin Kattar has to try and do that to win this fight, because if he just gets pieced up, he's going to be the slower fighter. If he gets pieced up on the outside, he's just going to lose minutes. He's going to lose points, and Steve Garcia will win a decision. But I do think Garcia will go in the pocket with Calvin Kattar. He'll land those big shots. I do expect Garcia to land the bigger shots. Obviously, he has been knocked out before, and there is a path to victory for Calvin Kattar, but I'm going to lean Steve Garcia to land that shot and really just break Calvin Kattar down. I could see Steve Garcia finishing Calvin Kattar with a body shot and then some follow-up shots on the ground, to be honest. So give me Steve Garcia by second round TKO as my final pick for this fight, man. It's a tough one, but we're going to move on to the co-main event. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson faces off against Gabriel Bonfim. Weird fight, weird matchmaking. It's still, to me, it feels uncomfortable as a matchup. Like, I don't know what we're doing here, UFC. We could be giving Stephen Wonderboy Thompson so many better matchups, but it is what it is. Obviously, he's on the decline of his career. He's on a 3-fight loss streak now, I believe. And Gabriel Bonfim is young. He's hungry. He's dangerous. He's only lost once, and it was by a TKO where he got gassed out and he got finished by some knees. And on the ground, he got finished. But I do think Gabriel Bonfim is going to take this fight. I just don't think Stephen Thompson has that power, that KO power that he needs to win this fight. Even the volume, it's slowing down. Against Buckley, he was doing well, but Buckley landed that one big shot, finished Thompson. I think Bonfim could land that shot early, or he could take Thompson down and find a sub, where Thompson has been subbed a couple times. He got subbed by Rachmanov. Obviously, Shavkat's world class. He's high in the rankings. But Gabriel Bonfim, most of his wins are coming by submission. He's got 4 wins by submission in the UFC, and I think he's only got 6 fights in the UFC. So I think Bonfim could find a sub here. I'm going to predict third round submission for Gabriel Bonfim, where Stephen Thompson's doing good initially. Round 1, maybe he takes round 1, round 2 Bonfim, and then round 3 Bonfim gets Thompson to the ground, finds a submission late in that third round. So give me Gabriel Bonfim by submission. I just think Wonderboy's not training takedown defense. I feel like at 42 years old, this guy's not training takedown defense. He's not really in the gym as actively as he should be, and he's just at the end of his career, man. This is probably going to be his final fight. He will most likely retire after this one. I hope he does, because he's getting at that point where you don't want him to take just too much damage, right? And he hasn't taken that much damage, but any more damage or being choked out won't be good for him. So give me Gabriel Bonfim, but I do hope Wonderboy is done after this fight. I hope he does win, but I just don't see a path of victory for him. We will move on to the main event, though. Derrick Lewis versus Tallison Teixeira. Horrible main event. This is the reason this card is so mid. We got 3 unks fighting back to back to back. We got Calvin Kattar, we got Wonderboy, and we got Derrick Lewis, man. I do hope all the youngs pull through, but I just don't see it happening. Derrick Lewis is at the end of his career. He's getting up there in age as well. I believe he's 40 years old now. Obviously, he can still knock you out. He's still got power to knock you out, but he's slow. He's easy to predict. His reach isn't very good, and he's fighting a tall, lengthy sniper with KO power in Tallison Teixeira. 83-inch reach. 6'7", man. He's 6'7" at heavyweight. It's just like, he's a big dude. He's a very big dude with a lot of power in his hands. He's coming off that KO over Justin Tafa. Should he be fighting in the rankings against Derrick Lewis as a main event for his second fight in the UFC? No, he shouldn't. But I mean, what are we doing, UFC? I guess we're just trying to come up with main events here. Derrick Lewis main event 2025 is crazy, but I guess we got what we got. I'm going Tallison Teixeira by KO round one. I can't trust Derrick Lewis. I can't. He's won a lot of times as an underdog, but he's won against guys who have relatively the same reach, relatively the same height, and kind of have the same game plan of going into the pocket with Derrick Lewis. I don't see Tallison Teixeira going into the pocket with Derrick Lewis. He's got the range, he's got the height. It's going to be very difficult for Derrick Lewis to land that big overhand right that he needs to land to finish this fight. And the only chance I see Derrick Lewis having at winning this fight is with a big overhand right, a lucky overhand right that lands clean on Tallison Teixeira and knocks him off his feet. I don't see it happening. So give me Tallison Teixeira by KO in round one. I think he's going to just start landing a couple shots. He's going to bother Derrick Lewis. Derrick Lewis is going to back up on the fence, and Tallison will unload and drop Derrick Lewis and finish him on the ground. Give me Tallison Teixeira by round one KO as my final pick for this card. UFC Tennessee, Nashville, man. Nashville, Tennessee, fight night. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, man. Terrible card, I'm not going to lie, but that's the full card breakdown. If you guys did enjoy the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop it down in the comments what you guys think about this fight card. Should we keep having Derrick Lewis main events in 2025, 2026? I don't think so, man. It's over, but it is what it is, man. I will catch you boys in the next one. See you.